right, so practice and application problems, and in this video, we're also going to talk about multiplying a binomial to a binomial, and I don't think we go to a trinomial times a trinomial, so I think we're all good here. So we're going to look at number 8. I think is where I started. So let's look at number 8. They have number 8 listed with the trinomial first. And it doesn't really matter which one's listed first because you're multiplying, okay? So that isn't the case. It doesn't really matter. But I find sometimes it's easier if the binomial's first because it's just 2, okay? And so, but you can do it either way. It does not matter. So let's look at number 8, and I'm going to rewrite it with my binomial first. 3x plus 5 times 3x squared minus 4x minus 5. Okay? So it's still the same premise, but you have an extra term. Okay? So I'm going to take the first and multiply it times the first term. So 3x times 3x squared, do you know what that's going to give me? No. An x to the first power times x to the second power, you add your exponents. Okay? So if you'll look at your mathematics chart on here it is. Nope, that's 8th grade. Where's my algebra 1? Here's my algebra 1. Okay? If you look at the mathematics chart, we're going to look at the properties of exponents. Okay? And if you notice, when you do a, well, this is going to be, let's see, which one would best describe this? Probably here. Product of powers, because product, we're multiplying. They've given you m and n, and I know m and n is abstract to you, okay? But if I had put an a to the first power times an a to the first power, you would have told me it was what? A squared, correct? Okay. So do you see how they have m plus n, so it's a squared? Well, if you have a to the first power times a to the second power, you add your exponents. 2 plus 1 is? So now you have a cubed. Oh, okay, all right. You did it when you had a to the first times a to the first. You told me it was a squared. You knew you had that, right? You didn't end up with 2a. You ended up with a squared. So now it's just a matter of acknowledging now we have a rule that tells us how we do that no matter what the exponent is. And we are going to be doing exponents before the end of this unit. Okay? All right, so there's a little preview. All right, here we go. So now, that goes somewhere in here, up here. All right, so I had 3x to the first power times 3x squared. That gives me 9x to the third. Okay? Then I'm going to take that 3x squared and I'm going to multiply it times my middle term. So now 3x to the first power, times negative 4x gives me what? Negative 12x squared. Then I take that 3x to the first power and multiply it times negative 5. And what do I get? Negative 15. Oh, I was supposed to have a, nope, that's a negative in this spot. Okay, negative 15x squared. Do you notice how my x squared? Oh, that's not squared. That's just x. You're right. Okay. So next, I'm going to take this 5 and I'm going to multiply it times 3x squared. What do I end up with? Okay, so is it positive or negative? Positive 15x squared. Okay, then if I take this 5 and I multiply it times negative 4, what do I have? Negative 20x. Then if I take that 5 and I multiply it times negative 5, I end up with negative 25. Now I have to combine like terms, okay? So you can either rewrite this so you put your like terms together, if that makes it simpler for you. I'm going to do it both ways. So if I rewrote this, I'm going to go down here. I'm going to do 9x to the third, because that's the only third I have. Then I'm going to do subtract 12x squared, positive 15x squared. And I probably would be marking them off as I rewrite it so that I don't miss anything and I don't double anything. But I want to leave this here because I want to show you how I would do it if it was up there. Then I would have negative 15x minus 20x minus 25. So now I have my like terms together, which makes it a little easier. I have a 9x cubed by itself. Here I have a negative 12x squared and a positive 15x squared, which gives me plus 3x squared. Then I have a negative 15 and a negative 20x, which gives me a negative 35x. And then I just attach my negative 25 on the end. So that's the first way to do it. Jalen's asleep today, huh? I'm sorry. All right, let's look at this way. Okay, to me, it's just as easy to do it this way, but whatever works for you. I'm going to bring down my 9x cubed. I'm probably going to say, okay, I've got this with a sign, and I've got this with a sign, so I've got negative 12 and positive 15 gives me plus 3x squared. Mark them off, I've done them, okay? Then I know I've got this with a sign, and I've got this with a sign that are going to go together, so that's negative 35x. And I think most of you are going to be able to handle it this way. But I would still, even if I didn't box them and circle them, I would be marking them off as I go. The reason that I would mark them off is so that I remember every single thing that I have to bring down or combine. Because, you know, it's just sometimes you can get lost and confused. The other thing to do is to make sure you're leaving space between your lines. I would be trying to make sure that my signs are clear to me, that my exponents are clear to me, that I am trying to do this with some sort of sense of being able to read my own writing so I don't make mistakes that are unnecessary when I actually was having it all correct. Yes, you're listening, I know. Okay? The other thing for some of you is I would be using that calculator to add and subtract your integers. Okay? Don't take a chance on getting it wrong just because you added or subtracted your integers incorrectly. Sometimes we think we're better than we're speeding along, we think we're doing just great, and even if you don't need the check, sometimes that check will catch you as you're speeding along and thinking you're great. Does that make any sense? Okay? That you cannot do this in the calculator. Okay? Love you. Okay? All right, let's look at number 10. All right. So, number 10, and you can just leave it in the regular order. If I had done this in the regular order, then I would have just been doing this times this, and this times this, then this times this, and this times this, and then this times this, and this times this. In other words, it doesn't matter putting your binomial first. It's whatever works for you, okay? So maybe I should do number 9, and I'll show you without changing the order. Number 9. See, I'm doing some of them for you, aren't I? Actually, I don't want to do too many of them for you because you need to practice. Because the rest of it's applications. So let's do number 10. Sorry. All right. You want me to do number 9 instead of number 10? Yeah, what the heck. I'll do that. I know. I'll do number 9 and leave you number 7 and number 10, and that way they're in different orders. All right, number 9. X plus 9 times x squared minus 4x plus 1. So this time I'm not going to change the order. Okay, I'm just going to do it like it is. And this may be actually easier for you. So I'm going to put my 1's in there so I don't forget they're there. 1x times 1x squared gives me what? 1x cubed. Okay, so I'm going to do this times this. Then I'm going to take this times this one. So 1x times negative 4x leaves me negative 4x squared. Then 1x times 1 leaves me plus 1x, doesn't it? Okay. Now I'm going to take my 9 times my x squared, and I get plus 9x squared. 9 times my negative 4, and I get negative 36x. 9 times 1, and I get plus 9. Now it's a matter of combining like terms. Let's see, do I have anything to go with my cube? No. So I'm going to write x cubed. I'm going to mark it off. Next, I have x squared. So I have a negative 4x. Remember, always the sign in front of it. And a positive 9. Negative 4 and positive 9 gives me a positive 5x squared. I'm going to mark those two off. And then I have a positive 1x and a negative 36x, which is going to give me a negative 36 up 35, heaven forbid, 35x. Okay, then I have a positive 9 left over to bring down, and I'm done. It's not that hard, is it? Really? Okay. I don't think there's any on here with 2 variables. There's only 1 variable, so you'll be okay there. There's not 2 variables. Let's look at the next problem. It says, word problems in adding and subtracting polynomials. Adding and subtracting. So we're back to adding and subtracting here, aren't we? Okay, so let's look at number 11. Bob mowed 2x squared plus 5x minus 3 yards on Monday, 4x minus 7 yards on Tuesday, and 3x squared plus 10 yards on Wednesday. The first question asks, how many yards did he mow in 3 days? So what are we doing here, adding or subtracting? We're adding, right? We're combining. So let's see. I've got 2x squared plus 5x minus 3. And I have 4x minus 7. Now, should I be putting, I can put it all the way across. And then you're going to have to just add like terms. To me, this is me. Okay. 2 ways you can do this. I could do plus 4x minus 7 plus 3x squared plus 10. Okay, here's how one way you can do it. Just put them all down because you're adding. Just make it all this way. Then you've got to combine like terms. All right, so I'd have 2x squared plus 3x squared is 5x squared. Cross those off. I got 5x and 4x, so that's plus 9x. Mark those off. Then I've got a negative 3, a negative 7, and a positive 10, which is going to give me what? 0. So then I've done those. Okay, you can do it that way if you want. Or you could have done 2x squared plus 5x minus 3. And then I had a 4x, and it was positive, so I would just line that up with my I do plus 4x, and then it's a minus 7. Then I had a positive 3x squared plus 10, and I just line up my combined terms. And I just go down the line. I've got 5x squared, 4 and 9 is plus 9x, and here I have a negative 10 plus a positive 10, so I know that I am going to have 0. Okay, so either way works, whatever works for you. So I would come to my handy dandy little paper and put the answer to this one is 5x squared plus 9x. Okay. Then it says, if Bob mowed 14x squared plus 12x minus 3 yards total for the entire week, how many yards did he mow during the rest of the week? So what do we have to do? Subtract. Okay? So you take the total and subtract what he mowed in the first 3 days, right? Okay? So now I've got 14x squared plus 12x minus 3, and I need to subtract, well, how much? 5x squared plus 9x. Okay? So I need to change my signs. So I'm going to combine negative 5x squared and negative 9x. And I get positive 9x squared, positive 12, negative 9 gives me positive 3x. I have nothing to combine with my negative 3, but don't forget it. And there's my answer. So, B is 9x squared plus 3x minus 3. Okay? So, you have 2 more word problems that are adding and subtracting. Then you have a word problem over here that says the length and width is 12 less than 3 times the width. They're not going away. The length of a rectangle is 12 less than. Okay, remember what less than means. It comes what? After the variable. Okay, what is the area of the rectangle written as a polynomial? So does this ask you to solve it? No, it's what are the dimensions of a different rectangle with the equivalent area? Ah, interesting question there. Okay, all right. So you are going to find me the equation for the area. So you're going to find the length and width. So what you're going to have to do is let what? What is the length based upon? So if I said let W equal the width, correct? Then you could tell me what the length is, right? The length would be whatever that says. And an equation, a polynomial, would be multiplying the 2 together, right? Okay, so that would be your first answer. Then you could come up with a different one. All right, this is find the volume of the box. I find this is a test. This is a type of test question too. When you have 3 factors, okay, and you're dealing in algebra, multiply your 2 binomials first, then take that trinomial and multiply it times n. So in other words, do your n plus 7 times n plus 8. Figure out your trinomial for that, or your polynomial, okay? Then take n and put it outside the parentheses for your trinomial, and multiply n times each 3 of your factors for your binomial. No, binomial times binomial will always give you a trinomial. Okay? If you have n, when you had a binomial times a binomial yesterday, unless something equaled 0, didn't you always get a trinomial? Okay? All right? So you would have 3 terms here. You'd have an n squared plus something n plus something. that you would be multiplying this n times. Okay? All right? All right, people. You have class time to work on this.